Hey everyone, just got back home yesterday after a long travel day, and I haven't unpacked everything, but I know there were a couple of requests to kind of see what I took on my trip and what I carried in my backpack. So I'm going to go through everything. I watched enough Camino packing videos to know that there's a lot of opinions on what you should take and how much weight you should carry and all that stuff. My only advice, if you're going to do this, is try stuff out, and from clothing to shoes to the gear, do your best to try it out. If you live in the US, REI is a great place to buy your gear because you can try it out. If you don't like it, you can return it. They'll give you all your money back, even if like I wore shoes for 2 months before I realized they weren't the ones for me, and I took them back to REI and got all my money back. So that's my advice, is find stuff that you can try, that if it doesn't work, you're not just stuck with it. The rule of thumb that I read was to try and carry about 10% of your body weight, which for me would have been about 17.5 pounds. I ended up, I think when I rolled into St. John, about 22 pounds in my pack, which was more than I wanted to carry. But the research I did about the Camino, walking through April, certainly you're walking across a whole country, and so you're walking through different regions of weather. From, the Pyrenees is different than the Meseta, from Burgos to Leon. It's different than Galicia. And prior to me leaving, the weather was really pretty rainy and nasty around the St. John area. And so I was really concerned about some really cold mornings, a lot of rain. And so I packed a little more of that kind of gear than I normally, or not normally, like I've done it a million times, that I would have taken. So I was carrying a little more weight than I wanted to, but overall, it didn't really seem to bother me. So I'll start with the clothes that I've already unpacked, which is pretty much what I would wear on a normal basis. So my shoes, which I mentioned before, I did Nike Wild Horse 8 trail running shoes. They held up really well. I bought 2 pair. These are actually the pair I trained in. So I practiced, I trained in my shoes, I trained in the gear, practiced layering clothes based on the weather around my home. And so I bought 2 pairs of the Wild Horse shoes, one to train in, and then I probably put about 20 miles on the ones that I took before I left home. So I had a fresh pair to start in when I got to St. John. So those were the shoes I wore. Typical outfit for me was, and again, this varies wildly. A lot of people spend a lot of money on smart wool and things like that, which merino wool, which is very popular. It's also very expensive. My kind of philosophy was I knew I was going to be hand washing clothes. I knew I was going to be putting them in washers and dryers that maybe are great, maybe not great. So I didn't want to spend a ton of money if I didn't have to on clothes that in my mind would probably kind of be trashed by the end of the trip. So I went as economical as I could for the most part, but this is kind of a typical outfit of what I wore. So I had, these are just, I took 2 of these. They are just a t-shirt that I got off of Amazon. The brand is called Gradual, and they're about $17 each. They're just kind of a synthetic workout shirt, and they held up well. They washed easy, they dried easy, they didn't really stink too bad at the end of the day. I took 2 pairs of hiking pants. One is, these were these are Mountain Hardwear pants that I got. They're just a really lightweight hiking pant. They dry really quickly as well. I'm fortunate I live in Beaverton, which is close to the Columbia Sporting Goods employee store, and through my work I get to go in there. So those were half price. Mountain Hardwear is owned by Columbia. I took 3 pairs of boxer shorts. These are ex officio, which again, I tried out several boxer shorts before I left. I really like these. They're very expensive. I can't remember, I think they're $25 a pair. So I took 3 pairs of those. I took 3 pairs of Darn Tough hiking socks. They're merino wool blend hiking socks. They held up really well. I didn't get a single blister the whole time. But again, I trained in these with my shoes and kind of toughened my feet up a little bit, I guess. And these are not cheap either. I think they're about $20 a pair. But again, worth the investment for the right underwear, the right socks. And then this was kind of my, what I considered like a mid-weight or a little heavier weight top to put on. This is North Face. I got it at the outlet store, North Face outlet store. It was about $23. Normally I think it was about $100, but it was discounted pretty heavily. This is their Big Pine top. It's got a hood. The neckline comes up pretty good to like your chin to block the wind. The only downside to this is very comfortable. I love wearing this. The only downside is it's a little thicker and doesn't dry very quickly when you had to hand wash it and hang it on a line. So I wore, essentially that's one outfit that I would wear. And then let's get into my pack here. So I haven't unpacked everything. I need reading glasses. I got these off of Amazon. I think they're called Sport Techs. They're kind of a rugged reading glass, and you can pick your strength that you want. It's a little dorky, but I had lanyards on it so I could put them around my neck, and then I could read easily and have them easily accessible. But they're pretty rugged. They're really lightweight, and they got bent around and squished a few times, and they held up great. So if you need reading glasses or something like that, I would recommend kind of a sport reading glass. I had my shell that I picked up in St. John. I had that tied to the back of my bag. So the bag I used was a Gregory brand 40-liter Zulu 40. Originally I was looking at a 35-liter, but REI didn't have it in stock, so I went with the 40-liter, and just in case I had to return it when I was trying it out before I left. And so when it comes to packing your pack, what I realized very quickly is you want to pack things in a way that when you get to your albergue at the end of the day, things are easily accessible without having to unpacking everything in your pack. So most albergues, when you come in, they make you take your shoes off right away because they don't want dirty, muddy shoes or just dirty shoes in the sleeping area. So you have to take them off and put them on a rack somewhere. And so you want to have some shoes easily accessible, or slip-ons that you can put on to walk around the albergue. I kind of agonized over this because I was looking for a separate shoe or a slip-on to maybe wear in the shower, so I didn't pick up any foot fungus in the showers, but also wanted a pair that I could walk around town and not have to wear my hiking shoes. I ended up going with Crocs. And I really like these. They're super comfortable. I just put them in kind of a Ziploc bag because they do get dirty, and then slid them in this outside pouch just so when I got to an albergue, I could kick off my shoes, pull these out, and they're pretty easily accessible. So I ended up using these for both shower and like walking around town. The only thing I would say on these is because these are traditional like flip-flops, is they're not slip-on, so I would have to take off my socks as well to be able to slip on my Crocs to walk around. A lot of people just had slip-ons where you don't have the toe divider for the thong here, and you could just slip your foot in, which would have been a little more convenient to kick your shoes off, just slide your foot in with your socks on, but wasn't that big of a deal. Again, I got these off of Amazon. I looked for something that was pretty cheap, but those worked out really well. I did them, like I said, this kind of dual shower shoe, and then for walking around town. So again, just a big plastic bag to keep them in, to kind of keep my bag protected after that. I did buy a poncho before I left. I just had it in a side pouch. I got the Altus Rain Series. It was probably, I want to say it was about $60, somewhere in that range. And it's probably not something I would wear at home, but it's a big poncho that covered my pack and everything. And I kind of joked, I mean, I finished the Camino in 32 days. That includes one rest day in Leon. And I would say I was very fortunate with the weather. I think I had 4 days of rain, 2 of which were really dumping. The other 2, it was a little more manageable. So I only used the poncho a couple of days, but even at that, it was well worth carrying it, in my opinion. But people had different options that I saw it on the Camino. Some people had lighter weight ponchos, some just had rain gear. there's kind of everything out there. This poncho is not the lightest in the world to carry, and that kind of contributed to the weight of my pack, obviously. But even for those couple days, I was glad that I had it. Let's see. The other side, we'll open up the main compartment here. So I took 3 dry bags, and I'll show you what I did with them here. So in the very bottom, my backpack is a little more narrow at the bottom, so I did the smallest dry bag at the bottom. These are Sea to Summit evac bags, which I tried out probably 2 or 3 different types of dry bags. I really like the Sea to Summit evac ones, but this smaller one I used for my bedding, and this was a 8-liter evac. The difference between the evac and a normal dry bag, I'll talk about this one in a minute, but this is a regular dry bag, is they fill up with air and you have to kind of manually squeeze it out, and then you roll the top down, secure it, but you still end up with a lot of residual air in there, which then in your pack, it's kind of filling up space. The evac bags at the very bottom, it's kind of, they're waterproof still, but they have some kind of micro holes in the bottom that allow you to push the air out of the bag. And so you can just really kind of force the air out, push it down, and then as you roll it up, it almost vacuum seals it, and you can get a lot of the air out. You just keep rolling and rolling, and it takes a little bit because the holes are really small to let the air out, but you just kind of force it out, and then it kind of vacuum seals your bag and creates a little more space in your pack. So I really like the evac bags. This one was my bedding. Again, not knowing kind of what weather I was going to be facing, I saw someone else that took this same sleeping bag. It weighs a little over a pound, which is pretty heavy, but this I got from a company in Canada. It's kind of a Canadian REI. It's called Mountain Equipment Company or Corporation, MEC. But this folds into its own pocket, and this was my sleeping bag. Most albergues, they would give you kind of a paper sheet to put over the mattress and like a pillowcase, a paper pillowcase to put over the pillow. Some had real sheets, but most of them were kind of that paper thing, and then you would put your sleeping bag over the top of it. There were at least 2 to 3 albergues that had no heat at all and some pretty cold nights. So this was nice. This specific one is actually called a Camino sleeping bag, and I don't know if it's discontinued or not, but one side of it is more of a puffy material to capture some heat. So if it's a colder night, you put this side up and it captures the heat, keeps you a little warmer. If it's a cooler night, the other side of it, you flip it over and it's just like a lightweight mesh, just kind of a liner to keep you cooler, and then you have kind of puffy side below you. So this is called a Camino Traveler from MEC, and it's rated to 15 to 22 degrees Celsius. So that was my sleeping bag. So I would fold that up into its own pouch. And then also in my kind of bedding dry bag, I took a silk pillowcase, which I only ended up using it a few times. There were a couple pillows that I just didn't even trust the paper pillowcase, so I used a silk pillowcase. It's kind of heavy for what it is. I don't know if I would take this again, but I did use it a few times, but I probably could have gone without as well. I took a sleep mask, not knowing if I would need it. I never used it, so it's kind of a personal preference. And then I also I moved them to a different pocket, but I took a pair of earplugs too. Again, I never used them. So that was my sleeping bag kind of set that I had all in this dry bag. My sleeping bag, pillowcase, sleep mask, and earplugs. And then I would just kind of squish that down, suck all the air out. And that was in the very bottom of my bag. Then this was my clothing bag. And again, I'm trying to predict being in Spain for a month and what clothes I would need and not need, I probably took a little bit more than I should have or would have, but it is what it is, and it worked out okay for me. So I took 2 pairs of shorts. These are Prana brand, also owned by Columbia, which I really like. So I took 1 pair of those as shorts. This was a lightweight hoodie that I had. This is also from North Face. This I got heavily discounted at their outlet store. It was, again, about $22, $23. Pretty lightweight, dried well. It has the same similar neck that blocks the wind and the hood. So I wore that a lot, dries really quickly. So that was kind of having these 2 t-shirts that I got off of Amazon as my t-shirt layer. And then this was a lightweight layer over that if it wasn't too cold. And if I needed more, then I'd put on a little more of a mid-weight North Face, even on top of the lighter hoodie. Like I said, I took 3 pairs of the Ex Officio underwear. Here's my second t-shirt from Amazon. I took 2 pairs of hiking pants. The one were the Mountain Hardwear, and then these are Prana, the same brand as the shorts there. I really like them. They have a little side pocket, which is nice to store stuff in. Super comfortable. Something that I looked for in both my hiking pants and the North Face, it's a little different setup, or I'm sorry, the Mountain Hardwear pants, but they have an internal belt because I kind of figured I would be losing some weight. And so instead of having to either have my pants slide down or buy an actual belt, these have a little internal belt that you can just cinch down, and it cinches around your waist, which was nice to have as you're inevitably losing weight on the Camino. So again, 2 pairs of hiking pants. I took more hats than I needed to, but I took a fleece hat thinking I would have some cold mornings. I probably only wore that once. Had another Mountain Hardwear. I would say this is a lightweight layer, long sleeve. It just has kind of a higher collar. There's no hood on it, but I would say it's about the equivalent of this North Face green one. So it was nice to alternate. I had enough clothes where I didn't necessarily have to do laundry every day unless I got really sweaty, but I could I had enough where I could skip a day, which was nice because you don't feel like doing laundry every single day. This was a little heavier, but this is a North Face shell that I used as a rain jacket or on cold mornings. And again, I just learned from kind of practicing before I left on what to wear and how to layer based on the temperature. So with hiking pants, the shirt, these lightweight or midweight layers, and then a jacket if I needed to, if it was really cold. A lot of people just took a jacket. I live in the Northwest, and so I had an opportunity to walk in the rain in just this jacket. And after an hour, it was soaked through. So I knew it wasn't going to hold up to walking like 6 hours in the rain, which is partly why I purchased the poncho too, is to have that extra backup of protecting myself. Plus, this doesn't protect my backpack. I took one nicer long sleeve shirt. This is super lightweight. This is also Prana brand, but it's nice when you get into town and you're going out to dinner or whatever, instead of wearing a workout t-shirt and lightweight, microfiber, or not microfiber, but synthetic shirts, it's nice to have a little something dressier in town, if you will. So I took one kind of lightweight dress-up shirt. Bought my little Camino buff in St. John that I wore, I think, every day. I really liked it. I don't normally wear a buff around when I went out walking prior to leaving, but it was really nice, protected my neck from the wind. I could pull it up over my ears. A lot of days it was super windy, and that wind, walking in the wind for a little while is manageable, but when you're walking in it for like 5 hours and it's just howling through your ears, it was nice to pull this up over my ears and kind of block the wind. It also worked well. You're walking primarily westward on the Camino, and so the sun is always behind you or kind of off to the side behind you. It's beating down on your ears and the back of your neck. So again, you kind of pull this up and protect your ears and protect the back of your neck. So this was great to have. They sell them everywhere along the way, or you could buy it before you leave if you're going. I took one pair of cotton, just really lightweight cotton gloves, and I wore these all the time in the morning when it's cold. Very convenient, comfortable. Even when they got wet the last few days, they're still warmer than having your hands exposed out in the cold. So I would take those again. I took some lighter weight kind of sport shorts. This is the same Gradual brand that I got off of Amazon. These were like $15 or $16 as well, that I would wear around the albergues after I showered. The one thing I didn't need, I took some lightweight thermal underwear, like long pant thermal underwear, just thinking I would have some cold mornings or going up over the Pyrenees or whatever. I never used them, so that was just kind of extra weight that I didn't need to take. And then I had, so this clothing bag real quick, this is a 20-liter Sea to Summit evac bag. It's the same as the smaller bag that I had my sleeping gear in, but you could just squish all the air out of it, roll it down, and it kind of vacuum sealed, so it was pretty compact, which was nice. And then I had a towel. So I had another small dry bag that I took that had my towel, my soap, and I took a little bottle of Dr. Bronner's liquid shampoo, or soap, not liquid shampoo, but it's soap that you can use as body wash, you can use as shampoo, you can also use it to do your laundry. I left that behind in the albergue in Pamplona, which was like day 4. So that bag and all that. Oh, and I had a bag, like a little dry bag for my soap, bar of soap in it as well. So that was gone pretty early on in the trip. When I got into Punta Lorena, that's when I noticed it. The lady at the albergue, running the albergue there in Punta Lorena, I asked her if there's a place in town where I could go buy a towel. She disappeared for a minute, came back and gave me, it's almost identical to the towel that I bought. And it was, she said it was clean and that I could have it. And so that's what I used the rest of the way, which was amazing to have that given to me. But it's just pretty much a microfiber towel that you use to get out of the shower. I saw people, people had all kinds of different ones, smaller ones, bigger ones, different materials, but they dry really quickly and super convenient to have. So you definitely want a microfiber towel of some sort when you're showering. So I had that. And then I took a third dry bag. This one is, I think, 15 liter, but I used it for dirty clothes, basically. So when I wasn't using it, it just rolls down really small, and I would just stick it in the bag. And then as I had dirty socks and underwear or shirts, I would just stick them in here, which this filled up, but my clothing bag shrunk down because they weren't in there. And then I would take this to the laundromat or to go out and do laundry, and then I would put the clean clothes back in there. So it was handy for me to have a third bag that I could do laundry with. And so there's my third pair of underwear. And then again, I had 3 pairs of the Darn Tough socks. The rest of my inside kit. So I also bought, knowing that I was taking Crocs, I bought some toe socks that were, these are Injinji brand. So these were nice to have too. These are toe socks that I could wear and then wear with the flip-flops when I went out to keep the feet warm. That was handy to have. Took a pretty small shave kit or toiletry kit. I had deodorant in here, my toothpaste, toothbrush. I took some Tums, some Aleve, just some basic stuff, some Pepto, stomach stuff if you run across any issues there. Some nail clippers. I also brought some, they're TSA approved because I didn't want to check my bag. TSA approved little scissors that fold up. You can take these on the plane legally. So that was my toiletry bag. Took my sunglasses. I took a little, this is just a little packing cube that I had. It's probably bigger than I needed, but I had it for just kind of miscellaneous things and electronics. Bought another little bag. This is Gossamer gear. It's just a little pouch basically, and it has some straps on the back that I could slide my waist strap through, and I used it for snacks for my backpack, and wore it most of the time, but not always. I did take a headlamp. This is Black Diamond 400 rechargeable. It's an amazing headlamp. I love it. I used it around home a few times when walking early in the morning. It's got a red light, it's got multi-intensity white light, but I probably only used it about 3 times there. Sunrise was around 7:30 in the morning, and so there was no need to get going before that, other than a couple long days that I did. So it's kind of a personal preference. I don't know if I would take it again. I probably would. It's not that heavy. The battery lasts forever in it. It's rechargeable. I took some camping kind of spoon and fork combo. They're plastic, so I took those. I did use them a couple times. They're pretty lightweight, so it's not too big of a deal to take them or not take them. This was a big thing that when I did a lot of research, it's called a hero clip, and it's basically a little carabiner, but part of it swivels around. You can hook, you know, supposedly you hook it on your bag. You can hook this over a doorway or hang stuff with. They're very expensive for what they are, and honestly, it was a total waste of time and money, in my opinion. I might use it for something else, but I never needed it. The reality is you're not hanging your backpack on anything. They're sitting on the floor or getting shoved in a cabinet, and so there was really no need to hang my backpack on anything. So for the money on this, if you wanted to take something, I would just recommend taking just kind of a cheap S-hook, but I had no need for this, really. Took an extra cable, charging cables that I probably didn't need. So this is a little bigger kind of electronics pack that I took that I probably didn't need as much of. I did take a selfie stick. I probably only used it once. I ended up just using my phone and holding it in my hand, so this I probably would not take again. I took a third hat, so I had the fleece hat, my baseball hat, and then this was more of a kind of safari hat, if you will, but I didn't need it. Between the baseball hat and the buff covering my ears, I didn't use this ever, so I probably would not take 3 hats again. I took a little kind of first aid foot care bag. So this had, I didn't use it every day, but I really like this stuff. It's called Squirrel's Nut Butter Happy Toes, and it's just kind of a balm that you can put. It's antimicrobial, so it helps with if you get foot fungus stuff, and kind of rub this between your toes. Helps with cracked heels, dry skin, stuff like that on your feet. So I would use this, at least early on, I used it probably every couple days, and then towards the end I didn't really use it, but it's really good stuff. Helped protect my feet. I never got, like I said, I never got a single blister, which is good. In my time kind of training for the Camino, I never had any chafing issues, but I wasn't sure with adding distances in, so this is same brand, Squirrel's Nut Butter. I just got the small anti-chafing cream, and I never ended up needing any of it. I got a stick of sunblock, which I used, probably not as much as I should have. I took a roll of KT tape. This was a bigger roll, and these are just strips that you can tear off. I used the internet, watched YouTube videos to tape up my feet for different ailments I was having, whether it was shin splints or heel pain or whatever. So I would definitely take KT tape again. That's pretty easy to find over there if you need it. I took Compeed. These are anti-blister, anti-chafing little patches that you'd put on your heel or your toe to prevent blisters. In hindsight, I wouldn't have bought this before I went. I would have waited, because you could buy this at any pharmacy over in Spain. It's not very heavy, but I didn't need it ever. I took some Neosporin, which I used occasionally. I had a little cut on my foot that I used it for. I took some Band-Aids. about it. The thing I use the most is lamb's wool. So I took 2 packs of lamb's wool, and it's literally what it is. It's just a big wad of lamb's wool. On my right foot, I broke my big toe probably 15 years ago, and so the bone sits a little differently. And I don't notice it normally when I'm walking, but as I started to increase in my distance, it would rub and create a bigger callus on my toe, and it would kind of hurt, kind of not. So I found when I was training for it, you just tear off a little bit of lamb's wool. I would wrap it around my big toe and then secure it with some medical tape, and it worked perfect. Towards the end of the Camino, I was having, I felt like the support in my shoes was breaking down, and so the bottoms of my feet didn't feel like they had as much arch support, or they got beat up by rocks on occasion. I would just take a big chunk of lamb's wool off of here, kind of lay it out, wad it up, put it under my foot, and just take some medical tape and tape it across the bottom, and it actually added a little more support and cushion. I didn't do it every day, but this stuff is, for me, I'd never really used lamb's wool before, but it was amazing. I used it a lot. It's sort of reusable depending on how you're using it. Like when I would tape a big bunch on my foot, I could take the tape off and reuse that to do it again later. This is not easy to find over in Spain, so I would recommend taking it with you if you need it. It's pretty inexpensive. It's really lightweight, easy to wad up and put in the pack. So that I used a lot. So kind of, again, first aid foot kit pack. I think I get rid of some of it, but I took, these are just a couple wet wipes. So I took a little laundry pack I bought. They are dry laundry sheets. I think the brand is True Earth, and they have scented or unscented. I got unscented. But these are dry laundry soap sheets, and I think they're perforated, so you could tear it in the middle and you could use half of it. But they just dissolve in water and kind of foam up. So if I went to a laundromat, I would just throw one of these in the machine. If I was hand washing my clothes, I would fill up a bucket or the tub, dissolve one of these in there to get all sudsy, wash my clothes in it. It worked out perfect. I took some dryer sheets as well, which obviously didn't use when I was hand washing my clothes, but when I went into laundromats, I used those. So that worked out pretty well to have that. Just kind of some extra little straps or bungee cord, which I never ended up using. I also took some small garbage bags. I took extra Ziploc bags, which I used several of those Ziploc bags. So that's pretty much it for the main compartment. Except, I also took, this is a Camino de Santiago guidebook by John Brierley. I looked at it occasionally, but for the weight, I probably would not take it again. It's heavy. Obviously, taking a book is going to weigh a little bit. I used apps. I used Wise Pilgrim app. They have a paid version and a free version. I just used the free version, and it was good enough. It shows you the 3 main things I used it for. One, it shows you the Camino route, like on a map. It shows your position and where the main route is, because the Camino, if you haven't walked it, there are some deviations where the route splits and you can go around this town or you can go through the town. And so it was nice to have that to make sure you're following the right path, if especially when the path splits. The other thing the Wise Pilgrim app has, there's a feature where it'll show you your position, but then it shows you kind of what the terrain is like ahead. So are you gonna have a long climb the next day, or is it relatively flat? That helped in planning how far I was gonna walk each day. If the terrain was really rough and you could see it on the map, then maybe it was a little shorter day as opposed to more level terrain. And then the third thing from the Wise Pilgrim app was every town, it kind of showed you what your options were for albergues and how many people could stay at each albergue type of thing, or, you know, how many accommodations were in each town. So that was helpful for planning. The other app I used a lot, it wasn't an app, it was just a website. It's called Go to Seco, and you can choose which route on the Camino you're doing, but if you choose the Frances, it brought up 2 columns, and basically you could select the town you were starting in, and you could select the town you wanted to end in, and it would tell you the distance in kilometers between the two. And so that was really helpful for planning, where it's like, all right, I'm going to start in this town, and what town, if I wanted to walk 25 kilometers, I kind of select down until I found the distance of 25 kilometers and told me, all right, I should be ending up in this town. Or if I wanted to walk 30 kilometers, I could select down until I hit a town that was about 30 kilometers. So that was super helpful to use. Yeah. So the top of my pack, there's a little pouch up here. I took 2 sets of headphones. These are Open Shocks, or Shocks Open Run series. They're a bone conduction headphone. I actually never used them. The wind was too strong to use them. Plus, I really didn't use my headphones hardly at all when I was walking. I did maybe 3 or 4 days in the most I used headphones. For the most part, though, the only time I used headphones was at night when I was on my phone trying to edit videos. So I probably would not take these again, even though I actually love these headphones a lot. I took some hand sanitizer, which initially I had strapped in my bag and then I put in the pocket, but I would absolutely take this again. The bathrooms, albergues, accommodations vary wildly, and a lot of them have no soap. So when you've used the bathroom and you can't wash your hands, or you just rinse them off in the sink and you have no soap, very handy to have some hand sanitizer. These are the earplugs I never really used for sleeping. I did because you're walking between towns and you're out in the woods a little bit. I saw this on someone else's video, and I'm glad I put it together. It's basically a little bathroom kit, a little garbage bag, kind of a partial roll, or some strips of toilet paper, and some wet wipes, and very handy to have. What else? This I used a lot. It's called a Chico bag. It's basically a little kind of a reusable grocery bag that folds into its own pouch. It doesn't take up much room. It's pretty lightweight, but this was handy to use for multiple things. If you went to the supermarket, you could take it with you and carry back your groceries in it. I used this when I showered. I would put all my towel, my change of clothes, my soap, toiletries, all that in the bag, and there's usually a hook in the bathroom. I could hang it up, and then I had all my stuff with me for my shower, all my clothes and everything. So that was super handy. I use this more than I thought I would, and again, it just folds up into its own little pocket, and it's super convenient. I got this off of Amazon. They're not very expensive. This I only used a couple times. It's a little microfiber towel that you can clip on your bag. It folds into its own little pouch. The thought was a lot of the bathrooms or places don't have paper towels or anywhere to dry your hands, so my thought was I would use this all the time. I used it a couple times and then didn't really use it after that. So I probably would not take that again. I did take, this is a 22.5 watt extra battery bank. This worked out great, and I'll get back to this in a second here on kind of what I did when I used that. So that's the top compartment, the main compartment, and then my pack had 2 little side pouches too. In the left side, I bought a pack of gum that's gone across France, Spain, the whole UK, and never used a bite. But other than that, I had my charging cables for my phone and my battery bank in one of these, so they're easily accessible. So it was a separate cable to charge this, and then a cable to charge my phone. And then this is a universal adapter that I got off of Amazon. The brand is Epica, E-P-I-C-K-A. Super convenient. It's got one USB, and then I don't know what the other, USB-C or something, the smaller. But it's universal, so it's got prongs for Spain. When I went to the UK, it's got another little thing that flips out for the UK adapters. It's got US adapter if you needed that. So it's very convenient. It's a little bulky, but not too bad. And then the right hand pocket, I had a little thing of Kleenex, and then it was pretty much full. I started out with a few power bars and then like some electrolyte packs that I put in my water. So that's kind of what I had in my right pocket, was kind of food, snack things. And then for my water bottle, just quickly, I just kind of made up my own thing. I kind of agonized on this as well. So this pack has a pouch for a hydration pack that you can put the mouthpiece out, hook it up here. I didn't want to carry that much water. I looked for, I almost bought, it was almost $30 for an adapter set that would go on top of a water bottle with a drinking hose and all that. I didn't feel like spending $30 for that. So I just kind of rigged up my own little setup. So I took an S-clip, which is just like a double-sided carabiner clip. And then I took a little piece of bungee cord and it's like a push button thing that you would put on like your clothes, and I just kind of made it and put this on the carabiner, and then this went around the neck of my water bottle, so I could push this button, slide it back to open it up to get the neck out of there. And then when I put my water bottle back on, I just tighten that up against there and just had that hanging from my pack. And then I had these already at home. There's basically a Velcro zip tie type of thing. And it stuck really well to my one of my shoulder straps. And so I just kind of made a big loop with it, and it stuck on there. So the carabiner and the bungee cord held the neck of my water bottle, and then the body of the water bottle sat through this big loop that I made. And that worked out really convenient. It was easy to undo the water bottle, slide it up, take a drink, hook it back on, slide it back in the loop. So I would totally do that again, not spend money on a hydration bladder or a drinking tube. So the other thing I carried was a fanny pack, and this one worked great. This is Fall Raven brand. The front of it, this has 3 main pockets. The front is a smaller pocket that I used. If you've never been to Europe, you end up with 4 million coins of every shape and size, so I would just put all my change in there. Eventually I actually used a Ziploc bag to hold it all because it was getting kind of gross in the front pocket there. The main pocket, I had my AirPods with me, a charging cable, my Pilgrim passport, credentials, your stamp book that you get, and then my passport. I found this on Amazon. I really liked it. It's kind of a hard case for your passport, so it folds up, kind of locks. There's a little thing that goes in there to lock it up. I mean, it doesn't truly lock, but just kind of snaps closed. And then I liked it because I was worried that my passport was just going to get all wet or bent up. So there's just a little pouch that slides in, fits perfectly. You can put a few credit cards in there, so that was nice and convenient to have. So I carried that. And then, so for my phone, so I was using the Relive app, which is what I use to make the little map at the end of my videos where it tracks kind of the terrain and where I walked. I also used another app called Runkeeper, which just tracked my pace and distance, which was not published in the videos. But those drain your battery pretty good, especially when you're walking long days. So this little battery bank, and I would have this charging cable in my fanny pack, is once my battery started getting low, I could just pull this out, plug this in, plug my phone in. I put this in one pocket, had my phone in the other pocket, and it kept me fully charged without running out. The other convenient thing about this battery pack is a lot of the albergues have a place where you can plug in right at your bed, plug in your phone or plug in your battery pack, but some don't. Some albergues, it's across the room, and I didn't want to leave my phone plugged in across the room where it was not close by to me. So in those cases, I would just use the battery pack. So I kind of had a system down where every time I left the albergue or got to any albergue, I made sure I got this charged up to 100%. And the nights that I couldn't use my phone or couldn't charge my phone fully, then this was nice to have with me because it charged my phone enough throughout the day that I could make it to the next albergue to hopefully charge my phone and then top this off again. So I kind of had this system of, as my phone drained down, I would hook it up to this. If I was in an albergue where I could charge everything, I charged it all, but I always made sure to get this charged up to 100%, which it charges pretty quickly, super convenient to have. And then, so the last thing in my pack here is the back has a little pouch that I had all my money in. So again, I know there's a lot of opinions on how much money you should take, or you should go to use ATMs there, not carry all your money. I didn't want to mess around with ATMs. My debit card that I have at home does not have, I mean, I could use it internationally, but it's going to charge me fees to use it there, plus my bank's going to charge me fees. So I just took all my money with me. I took about 2,000 euros with me, and I had it all in this bag in my back pouch. And what I would do is I never pulled this big pouch of money out in front of anybody. I would, maybe at an albergue in the night where I had some privacy or could find some privacy, I would pull out 40, 50 euros, stick that in my pocket or stick it somewhere else in the bag, so that if I went to a restaurant or a store or whatever, that I'm only pulling out a small amount of money in front of people and not pulling out an envelope with 2,000 euros in front of them. It worked well. I kept this on me. If I went to the bathroom, if I went to take a shower, anywhere I went, this came with me. And so I never felt unsafe carrying that much money. I never felt like I was in a position, I wasn't wandering the streets at 2, 3 in the morning in a big city with a bunch of money on me. So I always felt comfortable with it. It was convenient. I know Dave, who walked with me a lot, he had to stop constantly to get more money out. I did with my credit cards I took with me, I would use that for the albergues sometimes, or my accommodations that I booked online. It's easier to put on a credit card. But a lot of the albergues, I mean, they're 15 to 20 euros. And so I paid cash. I would book it in advance and then just pay cash when I got there too. So I kind of did a mix of that. But again, I decided to take all my money, never had a single problem doing that. And you just have to be smart about it. Like I said, I wouldn't pull out an envelope with 2,000 euros in front of a crowd of people and show them that I had that much money. So I took out small increments as I needed it. So that's it. That's what I took. Like I said, I think when I got to St. John, I weighed my pack. It was about 22 pounds. I did buy, so there's 2 things I bought in St. John that I would not do again. I bought trekking poles. I'd never used them before, but I had no idea with the terrain. You can get them as cheap as probably $20 for a set in St. John, but they're heavier. I opted for a set that was, I think they were 38 euros, and they were a little lighter. I used them a lot on the first day, and then I think I only used them one more time, and so the remainder of the trip, I ended up just carrying them, which added weight and inconvenience carrying trekking poles and having to strap them to your bag every morning. The other thing I bought in St. John that I really thought I needed was a pocket knife, kind of a multi-tool that had a wine opener and scissors and all that stuff. And I did use it like twice, but it wasn't worth it. It was probably like 20 euros, 25 euros. And I would not do that again. So both the trekking poles and the knife, when I got to Santiago, there's a place there called the Pilgrim's House, which they described to me, it's kind of like an albergue without the beds, but it's for pilgrims to come in, and there's a kitchen. If you want to make food, you could hang out and make food. There's a kind of a lounge area if you want to just decompress. Super nice people, great idea, but they take donations to help kind of fund their mission there. So I donated my trekking poles and my pocket knife, knowing that I didn't want to check my bag on the airplane coming home, and you can't carry either of those on the airplane. So I donated them. I didn't really use them. If I had any advice on some of that stuff, is wait. Even like the poncho, is maybe give it a few days. Walk a little bit. Do you need trekking poles? Do you need a pocket knife? Do you need the poncho? Because maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you can pick it up later so you're not carrying it the whole way, that type of thing. But for better or for worse, this is what I took, and it was probably a little heavier than what I wanted to carry, but I built up to it over time and never really had any issues with it. and was happy that I had enough clothes to get me through everything and enough gear to get me through everything. But that's it. So if you have any questions or comments on more specific things of what I took or why I took it, leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer it. Thank you.